Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.
How can doing something so good feel so bad? And when doing good is masking the problem? That's what I'll be discussing today. That sound for so long became synonymous for me with reward. It was finishing a job or completing a piece of work that meant at the end of that I could crack open 1 can, 2 can, 3 cans, bottle of wine, gin and tonics, or whatever, just as a reward for doing the task, completing the objective. What I didn't recognise at the time, though, is that with every glass of wine, every can of lager, and every spirit that I touched after every piece of work that I had completed, whether it was a piece of work at my actual job or a piece of work within the community, that actually I was feeding a wolf in sheep's clothing. And I was using the community work as a means to get more drink inside me. Through what I've learned through Alcoholics Anonymous and various meetings and reading books, etc., is that this is one part of alcoholism, an insidious disguise that addiction can wear, and it's the disguise of doing good. And I used to make plans, all sorts of plans with friends and colleagues while in drink, that some people would probably forget about or move on or hope that people would forget. But for some reason, I carried it on. I would make plans to introduce new clubs or things to do with the village. Things like Neighbourhood Watch, introducing a grit squad to help with the winter weather, helping support the school in various projects, helping with the football club, introducing a men's group to the village. So all sorts of things. I was involved in the parish council, the parks committee, a hell of a lot of work, as well as my own work, volunteering inside and outside of the village where I lived. And at the time, I felt that everything I was doing was for the good of the cause. And to an extent it was, but I was hiding a dirty secret. And what happened pretty much with everything that I did was I was a celebration towards the end of it, and the celebration always tended to be alcohol fueled. And then I would have people who would thank me for my work and thank me for the things that I was doing by buying me drinks or get me a bottle of wine or a bottle of spirits. And it became actually less about the community and more about my reward, which sounds awful. But when I look back at it now, the driver for me to do that was the reward. So the driver for my community work at that time was the reward of alcohol. What I also allowed it to do was to detract away from everything that was occurring at home. So obviously home life wasn't great. So getting so ingratiated and ingrained with community work, it did feel good, but actually the ulterior motive there made it feel bad. So although I put a lot of effort in to everything I was doing, I knew that the reward was forthcoming. I knew that I would be rewarded for everything I did. And it wasn't for me about being the star of the village. The reward for me was how much drink I would be afforded afterwards. And looking back on it now, selfishly, I feel like I've undermined quite a lot of what I did through my alcoholism. And when I look back at the various projects and things that I contributed to, quite a lot of them were centred around the social side of stuff. The meetings were mainly in the pub. There was obviously a large degree of networking, making friends, and just drinking pals. And, that helped mask a lot of my alcoholism, because It was just seen as me working so hard and that I deserved to let my hair down. And the village, through no fault of its all, became an enabler in my alcoholism. I did get spurred on. I did keep thinking up new ideas, new things, and the village benefited from it. But I always carried that shame and embarrassment with me, but masked it well through, guess what? Just more drink. I worked hard. Wasn't so much about playing hard because that side didn't come out, and people will testify that they didn't feel like I had a problem. They thought that I maybe drank too much, but actually was functioning well. And, it wasn't until everything fell apart and I opened up to everybody that they actually saw it for what it was. And the fact that I was an alcoholic who was not able to manage my life despite everything that I'd committed to doing and followed through on in the village. At the point of seeking help and disclosing my alcoholism to everybody and withdrawing, COVID helped because obviously people couldn't do anything. We couldn't go anywhere. We couldn't, and a lot of pubs and clubs and other social activities were shut down. But, it was even after COVID and while I was still drinking that I had to completely rebuild and move away from that life and that construct and dismantle that reward system. So I could no longer rely on having a drink at the end of a good day's work or anything that I'd done that was positive. I could no longer drink on the weather turning bad. And since I've stopped drinking, and within the last 5 years, I have managed to live my life without alcohol. I've been on all-inclusive holidays. I've been to social functions, weddings, parties, and I get invited often to other places. Whether I choose to go or not is dependent on how I'm feeling, but I am able now to see my past for what it was: alcohol fueled, driven for a desire to carry on and get more. And by stopping, I am fully capable of doing those things again. I could contribute, positively to any community that I live in. I've taken more of a backseat now because I am still in that process of rebuilding. I am 5 years sober, but, I have to be kind to myself. I cannot take too much on. I cannot look at what I did and the reasons I did it. Now I look at what I can do to keep myself safe from harm and protect myself so that then I can be there for other people. And when I look back now, how do I feel about everything that I achieved through being an alcoholic? I no longer have regrets about what I did in terms of the stuff in the village. The village benefited from my community work. I benefited. I do feel good about what I did now. I know there was an ulterior motive, but I have to look beyond that and think, well, actually, so much could have gone wrong and so much could have been bad that things could have really gone bad, but they didn't. And I need to be kinder to myself and think about all those people who did benefit from the help that I provided and also the support I gave. And I am proud of that now. I am very proud of that now. What I can take from this is that after all the shame and embarrassment that I'd felt through my drinking, and the fact that it did take me a while to recognise this, but despite alcohol trying to take from it, I did have the strength to still do good. The battle was with myself in hiding this secret, but while doing good, it didn't actually diminish the work I did. That's just how I felt. And again, I'm proud of my achievements that alcohol tried to steal from me. Thank you for listening to my Unfiltered Rebuild podcast. If this resonated with you, please share it with someone who might need to hear it. You can find more episodes of Unfiltered Rebuild whenever you get your podcasts. Until next time, be kind to yourselves and question the disguise.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.